What's up, guys? Ian here, coach of your Ladner Lanturn, bringing you guys our Week 16 builder for Red Season 8, taking on the one, the only BillStandish and the Adelaide Honchkrows. We did take on Bill last season in Red in the Blue Division, and we managed to pull out a 2-0 win, something like that, because Buzzwole ended up walling Zygarde. His Articuno was really annoying, but we managed to break through his squad. So, let's run through his team now. He's got the Landers Therian Z user, Hoopa Unbound, Rotom Wash, Bastiodon, Blacephalon, Kommo-o, Whimsicott, Silvally, Delibird Z user, Gothita Z user, Bastiodon Z user as well, and then Mega Beedrill. Priority options in Delibird with Ice Shard, Hazard setting in Landorus with Rocks, Bastiodon with Rocks, Kommo-o with Rocks, and Mega Bee with T-Spikes. Removal options in Lando with Defog, Rotom with Defog, Whimsicott with Defog, Silvally with Defog, Delibird with Rapid Spin and Defog, and Mega Beedrill with Defog. And 4x weaknesses in Lando to Ice, Hoopa to Bug, Bastiodon to Fighting and Ground, Kommo-o to Fairy, Whimsicott to Poison, and Delibird to Rock. Yeah, that's a lot of 4x weaknesses to cover. I believe I've only covered the... Yeah, I haven't even covered the Kommo-o. I believe I've only covered the rock weakness, not even by a rock move, just by stealth rocks. I've got Whimsicott covered slightly, and Hoopa covered slightly, and Bastiodon covered slightly. Or no, Bastiodon covered fully. I've got coverage for Bastiodon, but I didn't bring any ice coverage, and I didn't bring any fairy coverage or any rock coverage. So that's what's going on there. This is a really annoying team. This is a lot more annoying than his team last season. His team last season was like Bulu Bastiodon, which was like by all means sure scary, but it was fairly easy to deal with. Granted, you know, he did draft another Grass Fairy this season. So yeah, what I'm mainly scared about here is the offensive power of the team. Like, I don't think the defensive power is there like it was last season necessarily. You know, for all I know, it could be. I really haven't been watching many of his replays. I think Gothita is kind of a waste. I really don't see Gothita or Delibird coming. Now, the problem here is that Bill literally said in DMs, I will bring the spiciest of sets, and I do not doubt him whatsoever. I really do not doubt him in him saying that, and yeah, I'm prepared, I guess. My ass is prepared for a beatdown. Excuse me. So this may be the bulkiest team I've ever drafted, and he can break through it incredibly easily. So that's kind of the issue that we're running into here. Yeah, and I guess I'll discuss the mons that I'm not bringing at the end because of that. And yeah, let's get right into things. These are really the only 6 that ever made sense against him. If he gets up rocks against me, they're here to stay. Unless he wants to defog away rocks and I can force rocks on his side, then that'd be great. But Coon's up first. I'm bringing a Rocky Helmet set with Rest, Sleep Talk, Scald, Toxic. Not like a standard Coon set, but just a very defensive Coon. It's basically my answer to Lando, and it's basically my answer to Beedrill, and it's basically an answer to Kommo-o, physical Kommo-o. It's basically an answer to Bastiodon. If it's the Bastiodon, then I get to Toxic something, realistically, which is great. That's great. Scald burning anything is also fine, although I would much rather Toxic the Rotom. That's kind of the whole idea behind that. And Gothita, if it traps me, I PB stall it. So that's cool there too. So that is what's almost speaking. Actually, if Gothita traps me and he has something like Fake Tears or something like that, then I'm in a bad position because he'll kill me. But if he doesn't, I just don't use Sleep Talk on my rests, and then I'm fine because I still have the extra PP ready. So yeah, that's Coon. Yeah, I could have gone a lot more specific with the defense investment if I wanted to tank specific hits, but I don't know exactly what hits I'm trying to tank, so it wasn't worth my while to go into that effort when I could just plop it all physically defensive and move on with my life. Just like Aggron is fully specially defensive, classic Aggron. It gets like 230 base defense when it Mega Evolves, so it's not really worth investing there. And I'd rather have the chance of living like a Blacephalon Flamethrower or something and beating it down with Earthquake. So, Rocks, Avalanche, Earthquake, Toxic. Again, the Toxic's there for the Rotom. It's really the only thing that can deal with this set, and I obviously don't have much for the Rotom itself, but I can at least get a Toxic on it, which will do something later down the line. Aggron's a fine switch into the Beedrill if I don't want to pivot into my Suicune, which is also fine. It's a fine pivot into the Whimsicott, basically always, even if he wants to Leech Seed. Well, maybe not as much. It's a fine pivot into Silvally depending on the typing. Anything like Silvally not super effective against Steel, I guess, is the idea there. It's unfortunate that most of the types that are weak to ground are super effective against Steel. I guess that's wrong. Sorry for the yawn, I just took a nap. Anyways, that's Aggron, especially defensive. That's the whole idea. I guess I can go into Rotom on this and just stall it out, but Reuniclus is next. This one I did specifically EV properly, so thing is behind this set is that I am running Colberberry, so that changes a lot of roles anyways in my favor, and so I've been doing this a lot where I'm specifically moving EVs into defense to take hits better, but again, I don't know what hits I'm taking better, so the whole idea is to have HP to cover both defenses rather than specifically investing in a single defense and taking a specific hit better. So I'm Colberberry. The idea is that I can set up a Trick Room on the Hoopa and or live a hit and Signal Beam it. So with this investment, 0 HP Hoopa, I am like 0 bulk Hoopa. I have a 75% chance to kill with Signal Beam after rocks damage. So it's a pretty important role for me to get right at some point in this game, hopefully. Otherwise, Hoopa might just be able to break me down really easily. There's a lot of problems with the way that my team looks against his team, and so I'm just kind of hoping to not get absolutely blown out of the water here. Psychic hits everything else bar Bastion, and Signal Beam's fine for the Gothita as well. I've got Recover there, just in case I get into a shaky position. Ideally, get up a Trick Room, force in Mega B, as it's maybe one of his lesser valuable mons, even though it can pivot on a lot of stuff, and go from there. Keldeo's next, lefty set with Secret Sword, Scald, Sub-Toxic. Sub-Toxic is pretty effective against a lot of his team, to be completely honest with you. It's fairly effective against, like, non-Special Como. Special Como just goes right through the sub with Clanging Scales anyways, so that's a big problem. But Toxic stalling things to death are great. I'm outspeeding the Blacephalon with the speed investment. The idea behind Sub-Toxic on Keldeo is that I can maybe deal with the Whimsicott. I think the Whimsicott's definitely going to have Encore for any setup I have, so there's an issue with that because obviously it's priority boosted. So he may just lock me into Sub forever, which would really suck, which means I have to predict the Whimsicott coming in and Toxic, which he can then also Encore, but it lets me go to Mega Aggron once it's on the timer. Entei, Sub-Toxic, Protect, Flamethrower. I'm Vinte this week. I'm not going for the burn chance, so we went Flamethrower over Lava Plume. I'd rather Toxic stuff, and Flamethrower is fine for, you know, whatever else. Chip down mons like the Lando. I mean, honestly, even Blacephalon doesn't really want to take Flamethrowers to a certain extent, and that's his main fire resist outside of Rotom Wash and the Como, which don't really want to get Sub-Toxic. So maybe he brings another fire resist Silvally. I doubt it. Personally, I think it might be Silvally Fairy. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure what might come. Bug? Maybe Silvally Bug for Garchomp? No, Whimsicott always handles it. Yeah, I'm not sure. Chomp. Adrenaline Orb. Sorry, Entei's outspeeding the Silvally. Chomp's also outspeeding the Silvally. Adrenaline Orb because I think Lando's coming in on me, and it'd be nice to get something out of the Intimidate. I don't know. If I can outspeed it after the Adrenaline Orb, then I outspeed his entire team in theory. In theory, of course, Scarf Blacephalon will outrun my entire squad anyways, and Alolan Persian cannot take it on. I had high dreams and high hopes about a Technician Alolan Persian, but it just doesn't take hits well enough to do anything. It can't take on, unless it was like Assault Vest, then the Persian set I wanted to run couldn't take on the Blacephalon, and it couldn't OHKO it with Dark Pulse, so this is what we're going with. Yeah, SD, if I get the speed boost, then I'm fine with SDing. Dragon Claw, Poison Jab, Earthquake is fine from there, unless he's like Balloon, Bastion with Battle Burst. Like, I need to be in a position where I can OHKO the Bastion, right? So the Balloon needs to be popped before I can pull the trigger on this chomp. And if I have to pull the trigger early, then it sucks, but, you know, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. So that is the squad. In terms of what I'm not bringing, Clefable got absolutely beat the fuck down by Beedrill. I would have wanted to bring an Unaware set here, and Hoopa can just gunk shot me in the face. You know, Unaware would have covered the Como to an extent. It would have covered set up Lando to an extent. Excuse me. But in my opinion, the biggest problem in terms of setup on his team is just Blacephalon beast boosting its way to a win. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to be like Spit F Clefable and still handle his team, so it's not coming. Rotom gets absolutely handed the shaft by the rest of his team, especially Blacephalon and Beedrill. Same thing as Clefable, really, on that front. Same thing with Persian, gets handed the shaft by Beedrill. Munchlax gets handed the shaft by Beedrill, and Lando and Como. There's a lot of, like, even though Munchlax can maybe take on the Blacephalon, it gets Psyshock, which he's probably going to run for the Munchlax just in case I bring it. Hasn't seen any action in any of the weeks, so who knows, but yeah, man, I don't know. It's just, this matchup's just, like, it looked somewhat favorable on paper, but then it's, like, not at all. So, yeah, that's going to be the team. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys for the match.